Hello guys, welcome to Jack Talks TCGs, the channel where you get a new player's perspective on everything Magic and other card games in general. Today we're going to be discussing my 5 tips for brand new Commander players. I've been playing Commander for about 4 months now and I've learned a few things along the way that I would love to share with you. So without further ado, sit back, get yourself a nice cuppa and we will get started. Tip number 1. Do not worry too much about your first pre-con. Now, I touched on this topic a little bit in my last video, but I wanted to shed it a little bit more light in this one. So when I say don't worry too much about your first pre-con, what do I mean? Do I mean just go ahead and just buy the first pre-con you see at your local shop? Absolutely not, no. But from personal experience, I know that I made the mistake of just getting caught up in the paralysis by analysis and spending so much time just scrolling through, watching loads of videos and just trying to pick the perfect deck for my first deck. And it's so silly, there is no need to do it. At the end of the day, along your Magic journey, you are going to be probably building up quite a collection of different decks. So you're not going to be married to this one deck forever and ever and ever. So it doesn't have to be the perfect deck. Also, you've probably not ever played a game of Magic before if you're brand new to Commander. But maybe you have, or you haven't played too much, or whatever. But if you've never played, the chances are you don't actually know what colors you like, what your play style is like, or anything like that. So the reality is you don't actually have the information you need to make the perfect decision. Tip number 2, get yourself a second deck as soon as you have the funds. Now this seems like a bit of a weird tip, especially for a brand new player, because you've probably never even bought your first deck and now we're already talking about buying your second. But the thing is, something I've realized is that you are probably going to want to expand your play group as much as you can, right? Like having more friends to play with just means more opportunities for more games. You get to play with against different decks. It's just better for everyone. However, it can be quite hard to get your friends to take that leap and go and spend their hard-earned cash on a deck when they have no idea maybe what Magic is, they've never played a card game before, or they've already got other stuff going on in their life, and you know, going down this whole rabbit hole of Magic doesn't probably seem that appealing. However, if you say, hey, I've got this second deck that you can borrow and come and play for free, why don't you come and join us one night? It's far easier for them to make that investment because all they're doing is investing the time. They're not losing any money. This is emphasized even more if it's like a Universes Beyond deck and they know the IP, because chances are they don't really know much about Magic. But if you say, hey, I've got a Lord of the Rings deck that you can come and play with, they're far more likely to know and love Lord of the Rings and come and play if they know they get to play with cards from their favorite movie. Tip number 3, do not cheap out on your accessories. Hi guys, I wanted to refilm this part of the video as the original clip did not turn out very well. But I just wanted to show you an example of some cheap sleeves. Now, these are my Lorcana sleeves. These sleeves I paid about £5 for, and you can see already, after not a lot of use at all, the edges of these sleeves have already started to peel. I'll try and get one sleeve off and show you a better example. This is a good one, but generally, like, a lot of them look like this, so I hope you can see that. Now, I paid about 13 quid for this starter deck. £13, if you don't understand British slang. And typically, a Commander deck, you're going to be paying £30 minimum. That's for a cheap one. So if you're going to be paying that amount of money, and also probably editing it in the future, adding more expensive cards in, I strongly recommend that you don't put them in some cheap sleeves. Buy yourself some decent sleeves, some nice dragon shields I quite like, but there are other brands like Gamegenic and Ultra Pro that produce sleeves of a very, very similar quality for a similar price. The second accessory I would like to talk about is your dice. Get yourself some damn dice. If you've got a play group with at least 3 or 4 players in it, chances are someone there is going to be producing a shitload of 1/1 counters, okay? And if you don't have dice, you're going to be sitting there writing on a piece of paper +1/+1 and like tearing it out and then sticking it on the card, and it just looks tacky, it just looks rubbish. And all these beautiful artists put in all this effort to make this beautiful artwork on these cards, and then you're just slapping a like scrap of paper on top of it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Get yourself some nice dice. They don't have to be the best dice in the world. I know some dice can be like crazy expensive. Just get yourself some standard dice, about 20. And if all of you contribute to that, then you've got like 80 dice. You know you're never going to run out, and you never have to worry about that. So yeah, do that. Don't try and remember as well. I know there's some of you out there who goes, oh, I'll just remember. You won't. Maybe that's easier to do when you're playing a 1v1 game, but when there's 4 players playing, and especially in Commander, things just tend to get out of hand. You're not going to remember them all, and you're going to be spending more time sitting there trying to remember when you could just have it clearly displayed. So don't cheap out, get yourself some dice. Tip number 4, do not worry too much about your edits. So Commander, it's a casual game mode. You don't have to optimize everything. You don't have to make the most competitive deck possible. Again, I touched on this in the last video. Commander is about having fun. So when you're making your deck edits, have that in your mind. How are you gonna make your deck more fun for you to play? Or how are you gonna make the deck do more of what you enjoy it doing, basically? That's how I like to think of deck edits when it comes to Commander. Don't worry too much about it. You don't have to pick the perfect cards. I know it can be really daunting because you have this deck and you're scared that if you start to make some deck edits and take some cards out, the deck's going to be rubbish and you're going to ruin it. And you don't have to feel like that. For starters, if you have a pre-con, the deck recipe will be online. You can find it. You can go onto sites like Archidects and stuff. There's loads. You could just type in deck list for blah, blah, blah pre-con. It will be there. So you can always just put it back if you forget what you took out, or you know, all that stuff. So don't panic. It's absolutely fine. If you constructed your own deck, then just make sure you write out a little deck recipe before you start, and then you can go back if you made it worse. Deck editing is just about trial and error at the end of the day. Putting some stuff in, see how it feels. If it doesn't feel good, take it out. Try something else. Put it back to normal, whatever it is. Don't overthink it. We're all here to just have a bit of fun. Another point I wanted to make is that making mistakes is actually a good thing, okay? If you start to make edits and your deck is worse, you're gonna learn lessons. For example, you might put in too many creatures and you don't have enough interaction, or you might take some lands out so you can fit some other cards in that were cool, but then suddenly your mana screwed every game. So these important lessons are essential for you, especially going on. So the more you learn and the more you deck edit now, when you go to construct your own deck, you're gonna bring that knowledge with you. And yeah, that is a pretty good thing. Tip number 5, get your games in. Get as many games in as you can, guys. I know Commander is quite a long game and it can be hard to get a regular a night going as well. And we've all got our own busy lives and stuff. But if you can, get in some regular games. Like I try to put some time aside to play, have a regular night to play at least once a week, and make sure we get around 2 to 3 games in. The thing is with Commander, because the games are long, it takes even longer for you to test your decks. So if you're just playing one game, it's once a week, it's gonna take you longer to get to that threshold of say 10, 20 games for when you can start to recognize like patterns, and because that's when we can start to make those deck edits. That's when it becomes obvious, because we start seeing the patterns. If you're just playing a game here and there, it's going to take quite a while for you to learn your deck, get better. You know, also you're new players, so the chances are you're probably still learning how to play the game. And as I said before, Magic is complicated as hell. So if you're not getting regular games in, it might take you like a good 6 months to actually get fully comfortable with the rules. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but you know, it's a complicated game. And if you're still learning the rules, if your brain is putting energy into trying to remember how to play the game, you're not thinking about what your deck is trying to do, how your deck is trying to win, what your opponent is doing. You're not thinking about these things. Once you can start putting your energy into these thought patterns, your skill is going to improve, you're going to get better at the game, and at the end of the day, you'll win more. And who doesn't want to win? So that was my 5 tips for brand new players. I hope you found those useful, guys. If anyone has got any other tips that they would like to share with the group, please put it in the comments below. Let's get a good old conversation going. I would absolutely love that. You know, we're all here to just help other players so that we have more people to play with, more friendships to make. You know, Magic is, for me, a lot of the fun is like bringing people together. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, let's help these new players out, eh? Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.